I'm so excited to be here with you today, and I'm speaking with my friend and a friend of Steamboat, Beverly Hallberg. She's the president of District Media Group. Beverly, thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me on, and happy Friday.
Thank you. Yeah, end of the day Friday, finally.
Yes.
But it's nice out here. How's the weather over there in Virginia?
Well, it is going to be in the 30s tomorrow in Washington, D.C., so I am not sure why we're having this winter-like weather, but there's a cold front coming through, so it's a little bit off the weekend of Mother's Day and spring, and yeah, so it's just kind of odd.
Someone told me it was like supposed to snow tonight, and I was just like, what? It's May. No.
I know. I don't know. I feel like we've been through so much with COVID. We needed the nice weather, but I will say I enjoy the non-humid weather. So summer humidity is not my favorite. So I'm not complaining too much about it.
Yes. Well, tell us a little bit about District Media Group. Just a quick rundown. It's your business. You've been running this business for over 10 years, and I love your entrepreneurship story. So just give us a little bit of that.
Yeah, so District Media Group had its 12th birthday in April. So ironically, I started District Media Group through the 2008 recession, and here we are again 12 years later, going through another economic interesting time, I should say. And we have the new job numbers out today, which the unemployment numbers and the economy is definitely struggling, and understandably so with what all we're facing. But I started District Media Group because I saw so many people who were free market individuals didn't have a place to really go to figure out the best way to articulate that in a media environment. So as most people are aware, there is bias in the media. You also have the very hard aspect of trying to take something that has a lot of meat to it, very technical, and having to talk about it in 30 seconds or less is a hard task. So since I had a broadcast background, I'm a free market individual myself, I wanted to help people who were in our camp. So like I said, started the organization, the company 12 years ago. We've grown since then, and we've moved not just into media training and preparing clients for media interviews, but also preparing people for public speeches and also getting people on TV. So we do pitch clients and get them booked on radio and TV. And so we are, as I like to say, we're kind of a boutique PR firm because we don't do everything that large PR firms do. We specialize in broadcast. So making sure you know how to speak to the media, and that's not just in what you say, but also the overall delivery and even getting you connected with producers as well.
Yeah, and people can really know that you know what you're talking about because you personally are on TV all the time, on Fox News, sometimes CNN, doing commentary and analysis, so they can kind of say, oh yeah, so we don't have to just believe what her website says. We can see her and watch her in action talking about any issue and see that you know how to do it. You know how to, hit all the talking points without getting distracted by maybe a host of a show trying to get you off in the wrong direction.
I jokingly say sometimes that I have to make sure that I'm on my game, because if I do a poor job, then why would people hire me? Or it's similar to when I give a public speech on how to give a public speech. So I give public speaking seminars. It's a little bit intimidating at times because you realize if I don't model everything that I'm talking about, why would people want to hire me and trust me? So there is definitely a practice what you preach, which a really nice benefit of that is when I work with clients one-on-one, one thing they tell me is they say, you understand what it's like. They're like, my staff, they understand how the media works and that how you would book me on a show, but actually sitting in that chair and knowing what it feels like to have the lights and tough questions and very short time frames. I think we bond. We can kind of commiserate a little bit. We have our war stories of when interviews are really tough. And so I think it helps me be a better trainer because I understand even the psychological side of what your nerves can do and how it does get better over time the more that you do it. So I of course enjoy it. It's what I do for a living, but I enjoy being able to put myself in similar shoes as the clients that I'm working with and saying it's hard and I get it. I understand.
Yeah, that psychological side is really so much more, it's so much stronger than people realize. So when it comes to the coronavirus, this is unprecedented territory.
Yeah.
You have not only like politicians and leaders, but just regular people talking about things that they've never had to talk about before, just things that we never thought that we would be sort of on different sides or have different opinions on. How has overall, when you listen to people on television and leaders talking about the virus, do you get a good sense, like, has it been positive communication? Are they doing it well, or is it starting to deteriorate as time goes on?
It's definitely changed as time goes on. I thought initially we did okay. Usually in times of a major crisis, you do find Americans put partisan politics to the side and come together. You can even think of 9/11, where the media, who were pretty relentless in their criticism of then President George W. Bush, rallied around him and everybody rallied together after 9/11. There wasn't quite that same rallying around to start with. Let's not forget we were coming right off of impeachment. So we went straight from impeachment to this. It's, as you know, it's felt like a very long year in many ways. It's been an interesting news cycle. But I think there was a couple weeks where we realized, okay, we're in this together. We're going to do it. We know what the goal is. The goal right now, this is what we were told initially, and what you tell people is really important. Letting people know, okay, this is going to be hard, but here's when it's over. It's kind of like running a marathon and you see those mile markers. You need those mile markers in order to be able to continue to pursue. So initially we did really well with that and said, we are learning as we go along, but for now, our main goal is to make sure that hospitals aren't overrun, that we have ventilators, that people have the gear that we need. But then the goalposts changed. And I think that's when it's not just that people are tired of this process. And of course, everybody is. I know, Erica, you have kids. I don't. So you have that added stress of taking care of children while you're working. I'm sure they're somewhere in your house right now and your husband is helping you take care of them. Yes. You have your quiet room for these sessions. But we didn't, I don't think, in my opinion, have a really clear definition of what we're fighting for now. Now, part of that is because the partisanship came in again. So I actually very much appreciate, as an entrepreneur, that our president has also considered the economic livelihood as an important aspect to this. So I appreciate that as a small business owner. I think we do have to look at all sides. But we have now shifted to this divide where you either care about the economic side or you don't care about people living. And I think that's really unhealthy. I'm now hearing, as we all are, well, every life matters. Every life matters. That's the phrase that we're hearing. And I have even seen, just with interacting people in my neighborhood, I actually was in South Carolina with my parents for a few weeks, so I saw how South Carolinians responded, and they were out and about more than people are in Washington, D.C. And part of that is density, a little safer, and when you're not in a dense popular area. But here in DC, I'm noticing even how people are interacting on the streets has changed. So it's common, if I'm walking, going for a run, not wearing a mask, that people say things to me. So people will, I've had people yell, "Unbelievable, where's your mask?" So it's
with a mask on.
I don't know. Like, you're mandated to wear a mask when you go into the grocery stores, of course, and I understand that. Against DC, we don't think we've hit our peak yet, so that's rising. But I believe this is because the messaging that we're hearing in the news, and sadly, it depends on which network you watch, that if somebody is not wearing a mask, they're putting your life or other people's lives in danger. And so I think that's the wrong way to talk about it. Honestly, we don't know enough about the coronavirus to begin with. So I think because our goal post shifted, it went from, okay, we got to hunker down until hospitals aren't overrun. But once we hit that, there was no good job. Let's now figure out working together for the next phase. It then became partisan. And I think that is then filtering over into how individuals act with each other, because we are talking about people who are scared, and understandably so, people who have lost loved ones, and people who are losing their livelihood. So when you mix all those together, we really do need our leaders to come together. And that's not something that we're seeing.
Have you seen anyone in particular? I didn't prep you for this, but is there anyone you can think that is doing a good job with communicating?
I think some of the governors are, where they're being very clear about risk, and then also, here's what we're going to do. If you are clear about the phases and what you're asking people to do, here's when we will open up, here's what we expect you to do if we do open up. I think on the local level, we're getting a lot more clarity, and understandably so, because county to county, city to city, town to town, the way we should treat this should be different. So it depends on your local leaders and what they're saying to you. But I don't know if you have felt the same way, Erica, but I find if I watch too much news right now, there's almost an anxiety that is created, because it's a lot of doom and gloom and it's a lot of fighting. But if you actually just turn the TV off and realize, okay, we have a new normal right now, but we'll be safe in our new normal. I'm trying to figure out, like, even with my business, okay, we kind of had to think outside the box. We're doing virtual trainings now. We had to work with it. Now, some people, unfortunately, don't have that ability to think outside the box because their job is very specific and service oriented and working one-on-one with people. But I think on the local level, you're seeing more, but I really think the polarization and partisanship we have seen, in my opinion, ratcheted up during the Trump administration is just spilling over into this crisis as well.
It seems like for a while, it was, at first, we all felt very unified. And as time goes on, I mean, now we're going on like the third month almost of this, like basically being quarantined, stay-at-home orders, all of that. It is starting to unravel and become more partisan. So the next question I have is just, I feel like this is, and I already see it, friends and family, like people are getting into fights. A girl in my Bible study last week said she was in a massive fight with her best friend because the friend wasn't social distancing as she thought was appropriate, and she thought she was being reckless and careless. And so it's become sort of like the new, almost like the new Trump family, you know, people don't like each other in the family if one supports Trump and the other doesn't. Now it's sort of like, well, some people are social distancing and some people don't think it's that important. How can we best, just as individuals, communicate with each other in disagreement and still be respectful?
Well, I think part of it is starting with what information we do know and realizing how people are interpreting what we should do. It's really varied even among scientists and medical professionals. We know that this is a huge problem. We do know certain things about coronavirus, but what actually we need to do and what that balance is with the economy, that is up for debate and up for opinion. So I think it could be, first of all, understanding that there could be a major reason why somebody is very concerned. This person could be vulnerable. They could have a health condition. I completely understand. For example, I don't like my 70-year-old dad going out and do anything, or my 102-year-old grandfather. I'm like, stay inside, stay inside. So there are people who understandably are having to be very, very cautious about this. And I do think that some people have been flippant. Where I would like to see the protests that we have going on, people social distancing. I would rather them be adhering to what we at least know at this time to be the best way to try to prevent spreading. I think we should have that in protest. So I see it on both sides, ways that we could do better. But I think it's starting with people have real fear. And I think acknowledging that this isn't just about somebody wanting to tell you how to live your life. This is somebody who has probably deep concern about their own life or the lives of others, and starting from that point, because otherwise we're just going to jump to judgment on either side unless we get to like asking questions. Just tell me why you've decided to take the steps that you have to protect yourself. And I want to understand where you're coming from. So I think giving people the opportunity to share what's on their heart about this is important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always of the perspective that you should assume the best of people. Not everyone is a positive person, like in that regard. But I think, you should assume that nobody wants people to die. That's never the incentive behind whatever decision is made. And I think you're right. Just trying to understand, and even if you don't, realizing that doesn't mean the person that you're talking to isn't worthy of respect, isn't a human being with dignity too, even if they have a different perspective than you. I read on Twitter that a district media group tweeted out that you said that there was a question, should politicians wear masks when they're talking? And you said it depends. And I just wanted to get your take on why it depends.
So this came out, this is the Washington Examiner that interviewed me, and that was probably probably 4 weeks ago now. So it was in the beginning phase. And this is my opinion on what politicians should wear as well, clothing. It goes with masks. It really depends on your situation. So I don't expect in a press conference with the president, or even we have a new White House press secretary, for as they are up there at the podium to have a mask on when it's clear they're not within 6 feet of people. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's necessary at those times. You even have Nancy Pelosi where she's wearing the scarf around her neck. She pulls it up when she's walking. She pulls it down when she's speaking, when she's giving her press conferences as well. I think that's completely appropriate. I do not expect Joe Biden to wear a mask when he's in his basement doing his virtual town halls with people. There's no reason for it. So I really think it depends on the scenario. Vice President Mike Pence did get a lot of flack for not wearing a mask when he was at a hospital recently. I think it was right to criticize him. I think he realizes that was a mistake. He should have had a mask on. So it really depends on the setting. Where are you? And if you are close enough to other people, if you're asking everybody else to wear a mask, you should as well. Now, what is ironic about all of this is you do have different governors, different elected officials whose families are traveling and doing things that they're telling us not to do. There has definitely been hypocrisy. And when they're called out on that, they have a hard time answering it. I'm trying to remember who the governor was, but one governor said, no, don't worry about what my family does. This is about me. I was like, no. You can't tell other people not to travel and how they should live their lives if your family is not following suit. You do have to practice what you preach.
Yeah, exactly. Because why would anyone trust you if you didn't?
Yep. And trust is important right now. We need to trust our leaders. I want to trust Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. I want to understand this virus. But also we have to give some leeway to the fact that we're learning as we go. And we're going to have to change as we learn more. We have to, I think, as a public, give some grace to the fluidity of this. And we don't know everything at this point in time.
Yeah, always important to keep in mind. Okay, Beverly, well, thank you so much for your tips.
Thank you.
You could only pack so much into a few minutes, but I really appreciate it. And I think that people will take a lot from that as they're conversing with friends and family and just watching the news from here on out.
Yeah, well, stay warm this weekend and happy Mother's Day to you on Sunday. Yeah, okay.